Hi, I'm Jeanette Peterson, writer and mindfulness coach. Welcome to the Art of Mindful Disruption, where I share conversations to help relax, motivate, ponder, and inspire you to grow. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this mindfulness meander with me as I traverse some topics that might just make you think a little differently about pretty much everything in life. Over time, I will challenge your ways of thinking and even your emotions in ways that you may never have considered before. You see, it's all because we know that mindful disruption isn't about chasing solutions. It's more about building awareness and allowing the solution to find you. So before we begin today, let's take some long, slow, deep breaths together just to center our attention and calm our nervous system so we can be fully present. Because we know that to be present, we can only do it if we're here and now. So let's begin. Take some long, nice, slow, deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. And as we're breathing in through our nose and we're breathing out through our mouth, we're really wanting to feel that air as it's coming into our body. You may feel it as it enters your nostrils. You may feel it as your stomach expands. But the purpose of taking these breaths is really about feeling into your body and becoming present in your body first. Because once you become present in your body through your breath, you're able to become present to the conversations that we have, and particularly the one we're about to have today. So now you're feeling a little more relaxed and present to this current moment. Let's jump right in to the conversation about today's topic. And it's an interesting one. It's about the power of the Zoom effect in building better relationships in your life. Now I bet you're thinking, Zoom? What is she talking about? How can Zoom, something that involves a camera, potentially help build better relationships in our life? Well, that's a really interesting question, because in life we can all become incredibly focused on one position, just like we're zoomed in, as if we're the lens of a camera ourselves. So it's incredibly easy to forget that we have the functionality to zoom in and zoom out at any time. By doing this, it enables us to not only observe the big picture when we're zoomed out, but it also enables us to observe all the minute detail when we need to zoom in. So think of a time in your life where maybe you were stuck on a perspective. Did you find yourself zoomed out and separating yourself from the situation and seeing it only from the big picture and missing some of the detail? Or did you find yourself so zoomed in on the detail where you're feeling and experiencing that situation so up close that it made it difficult for you to really be able to understand the big picture? And in understanding this big picture, understand the other perspectives and the other positions that are held within that space. Now these positions, they could be other people's inputs, people's opinions. Now the power of Zoom is incredibly powerful in being able to zoom in and really experience it firsthand. But you can zoom in many ways. So firstly, you can find yourself zooming in to your own bodily sensations. So if you're experiencing a situation that's making you feel really uncomfortable, there's a good chance that you're quite zoomed in to your own physical experience. So if you're nervous or if you're anxious about something, you can zoom in a little further so you're feeling that experience. But by zooming in, you can really understand where you're feeling that within your body to understand the implications that it's potentially having. Now we know that when we're nervous or anxious, if you really zoom in, we know that we feel it often in our chest. We might feel that heaviness on our chest of discomfort, or feel it in your stomach as butterflies. We all know what that experiences to have. We can probably all recall it from back as young as when we were children. So zooming in can be really powerful, but it can be powerful as well, not just to zoom in to understand yourself and the experience that you're having in any given situation, whether that situation be at work, be in your personal life, be in a relationship with your partner, in a conversation that you're having with your children, in every part of your life. But it also enables you to zoom in a slightly different way. So instead of zooming in to your own feelings, you can zoom in to experience some of the detail in other people's experience, or some of the detail maybe in a paper that you're writing. So you might really need to zoom in if you're working as a research scientist. Zooming in is incredibly powerful, where you can uncover the fine detail that you need to be able to interpret and understand results of research. But we do this in many different spaces, and so by learning first to zoom in for yourself, it becomes incredibly powerful, because then you can focus that attention and pretty much learn to zoom in on any point of interest where you are seeking an answer. So if this is what we do when we zoom in, and some of the great reasons for learning to understand and utilize the power of zooming in, well, what about the power of zooming out? So if we're stuck in our emotions and we're feeling something so incredibly intensely because something's occurred that potentially has triggered a previous experience in our life. Now, this could be an experience where, as an adult, someone says something to you that you might find particularly offensive. Now, there's lots of reasons why we find the way people respond or react to things that we say in offensive ways, but these are usually formed by social and cultural conditioning that cause triggers and imprints that get left in our life. So when we're zoomed in and somebody else zooms in, you can see how we end up in incredibly difficult predicaments where people are so connected to their emotions and experience that emotion that the trigger that we need to be able to take us away from that emotion, to be able to then move into that rational space, needs to occur. Now, sometimes this needs to occur over time, but it definitely needs to occur. So in that point where you're feeling the emotion, you're on your way to the ability to be able to then be rational and take the next step forward. Well, zooming enables you to be able to do that. So to trigger you to be a little more rational if you feel overly emotionally attached to what you're doing, and you've become aware of this by actually understanding the power of zoom, you can say, hang on a minute, I think I need to zoom out. So you're probably starting to see, okay, so the power of zoom is about being able to enact control. Now, this isn't enacting control on others, but this is about control of how you're responding and reacting to situations that you're involved in. So the powerful practice of observation is the first key. So it's really to be able to say, well, in this current situation, am I zoomed in or am I zoomed out? If I'm zoomed in, should I be zoomed in? Or is it not serving me well in this moment? If I'm zoomed out, am I missing some important information? And so is being zoomed out not suiting me in this moment? So this is how it becomes incredibly powerful, because through awareness of understanding your own behaviour, you are able to modify your behaviour to get the most out of individual situations as they arise. Now imagine how incredibly powerful that could be in every part of your life, to be able to observe, assess, and understand the best path forward. So in those circumstances when we're stuck zoomed in and we realise, okay, maybe I need to zoom out so I can understand what's going on in the big picture. So to understand and use zoom out, to really get a grip on what's going on in the big picture, well, there's a really simple tool that you can use to do this. And this is the tool of considering that when you zoom out, you're not actually in the situation anymore. You're observing it like a third party, almost as if you're watching it on a movie screen. Now, it could serve to help you to consider the concept of zooming out is to think of a situation. Think of it in your mind, a common situation that occurs in your life where you find yourself really zoomed in, where you become really gripped by an emotion. It could be a repetitive argument that you have with a partner, a friend, a business colleague, your boss, your children. And you could find that those triggers just re-enable that zooming in again and again and again. And once you understand that, well, imagine what that situation would look like if you suddenly realised, wow, I'm zoomed in. I need to zoom out. So then you decided to zoom out and imagine that what's actually happening before you is happening on the screen in a cinema. So you're not part of it, it's not you. You're observing these behaviours of this person in front of you. And by becoming more observant, you can look around and understand the landscape of what could be going on. Now, this could be within a meeting. People could have competing priorities. Somebody you could be having a conversation with could literally have missed out on sleep last night, and they could be incredibly tired, so they're struggling with the situation. But when you zoom out and you start to engage in other pieces of information in your mind, instead of completely focusing on the way you're feeling about the situation, you can get a little bit more clarity. And therefore, the bigger picture gives you a bigger perspective, and it brings more into the equation. Imagine how powerful that could be in changing the interactions that you have with people in every part of your life. So with a tool like zooming, what are some things that you can do that are really obvious things that can help you adapt when you're trying to utilise this new tool of the power of the zoom effect? Well, the first thing, and probably the most important one, is to understand that listening needs to occur for the simple sake of listening only. So when you zoom out and you disconnect a little bit from that emotion, so you're not feeling so heightened by the experience that you're having, you really need to focus in and just listen purely for the sake of listening. You'll understand more, you'll actually hear more, because unfortunately in the world that we live in, we tend to listen to prepare an answer. So we're already trying to think and jump ahead about what we need to say instead of just focusing on what we need to hear. And when you focus on what you need to hear, as I said, you hear more and you tend to react less, and you gain a little bit more understanding, and you're able to observe not only the words that people are speaking, but the 80% of non-verbal communication, so in their body language, and start to understand really potentially where this person could be coming from and why they could be coming to you in the way that they are. So once we've considered about how we should listen, and we've got a good understanding of the beautiful power of changing how we listen, then we need to be able to allow ourselves to pause. Now, we don't do this anywhere near often enough because we think that the person requires us to provide an immediate response. But in fact, that's not necessary at all. You can actually decide to take as much time as you need. In fact, you can choose not to respond to a situation and ask for some time and some space that you can go away and think about the response that you want to make. The pause is in your control, and you'll be quite surprised, just as I have been and as I've taught people, is that when you take the pause, two things happen. It gives you space and time to either determine whether the next thing you need to do is zoom in or zoom out, it also gives the person that you're interacting with time and space as well. So you take the pressure off you, but you take the pressure off them as well. So pausing can be incredibly powerful, and it shows that you're being considerate, not just for your own judgment and to be able to interpret and move forward as you need to, but also for the people that you're interacting with. And this is in every situation. And we have to remember that for interactions as simple as interactions with children, I mean, when children are under the age of 8, they don't have one neurological pathway for anything yet. So when you're asking a child to do something and you want an instant response, their poor mind is still trying to determine which is the most appropriate neurological pathway to take to actually fulfill the requirements that you have. So if you take the time and pause before you react or preferably respond, then you're giving that equal amount of time for the other person, whether they be your child, whether they be your partner, if it's in a heated conversation, whether it be in a conversation with your boss, and you're able to really step in to that space with the right mindset and take that conversation forward or that interaction in a way that's going to not only benefit you, but benefit everybody in the situation. So the third incredibly great thing that comes from the power of the Zoom effect is the ability to seek clarity and understanding. So if we're zoomed out, we can zoom in to get some more detail and clarity and understanding. But if we're too closely zoomed into our own emotions, or we're fixed on a viewpoint that this is the only way forward, by zooming out, we're able to get some more clarity and understanding around potential other options, and that a person in front of you could simply be providing you with an opportunity to see another option. Now, it doesn't mean that that option is necessarily the right one, but it very well could be. So you need to be able to take that time to gain that clarity and that understanding. But by doing these three things, by listening, by pausing, and by seeking and providing clarity, you can take the conversation to an outcome which could be much better for all parties, not just for you, but for everyone. So next time when you find yourself in a sticky situation, your teenager's driving you crazy because they won't clean up their room, or you're finding yourself falling into that same argument that you've had every time with your partner about the same topic, why don't you try for a change? Try a new approach. Attempt the Zoom. First, use some awareness and see where you're at. Are you zoomed right into your emotions? Or are you zoomed in with laser point focus on one point of the conversation? Are you stuck in that position? Would it serve you and your relationship better if maybe you zoomed out so you could seek some clarity and get a better understanding of not only your position but everyone's position so you could move forward? The only way to know if utilising the power of Zoom could change your life is to give it a go, right? It's worth remembering that you don't always have control about how people arrive at you. However, you have 100% power in how you choose to respond. A good response can change the situation completely for both parties. So next time when you find yourself in a conflict situation, try Zooming. With practice, it will help you build better relationships in every part of your life. And you never know, by building better relationships from your own Zooming perspective, you just might be able to teach a few other people to zoom in and out as they need to and create the beautiful ripple effect where they can help other people just as you have helped them. I hope you've enjoyed today's mindfulness meander as we talk about the powerful effect of Zoom. We probably never thought about it the way we think about a camera, how we can move our mind and change the spaces and how we interact. But it is completely possible in your life, just as it is within mine. We can change the landscape, we can change how we operate, we can change how we interact. The choice is ours, the decision is just about when do you start. So if you'd like to know more about how mindfulness can take your life into a whole new space and build not only better relationships in your work, your personal life, with your children, with your friends, but create a better sense of harmony and peace and comfort within your own life, you can either subscribe to this channel or you can follow my blog called The Art of Mindful Disruption. It's been a pleasure to share this experience with you today. I hope you find value in bringing the art of zooming into your life and share it with all those who you know could do with the benefit of zooming.